The NBA Finals. That goes back to the Bay Area tomorrow night. Series tied up at 2 apiece. So how did we get here into a Game 5? Let's recap. Game 1, Celtics made a statement on the road, outscoring the Warriors 40-16 in the fourth quarter to steal the win. It's the largest point differential in a fourth quarter in Finals history. Then the Warriors, though, they did bounce back in Game 2, holding the Celtics to their lowest point total in a game in these playoffs. Despite scoring 28 points, Jason Tatum had a minus 36 of a plus-minus. That's the worst in any game of his career. But then Boston retook the series lead at home in Game 3 with the help of another big fourth quarter. They advanced to 7-0 following a loss this postseason. That's tied for the most wins following a loss in a single postseason in NBA history. Then on Friday, Steph Curry put on a show, dropping 43 to go along with 10 boards as the Warriors even the series at 2 apiece. And so let's now see how both teams are getting ready for Game 5. And we start things off with Tim Bontemps and the Celtics.
The Boston Celtics have won all 7 games they've played after a loss in these playoffs. Whether they can make it an 8th time in Game 5 could be what determines whether they win an NBA title. That's how we've been all year, Marcus Smart said. We take a loss and bounce back. The Celtics know they let one slip away in Game 4, but it's also far from the first time Boston has done that in these playoffs. We don't do this on purpose, Jason Tatum said with a smile. I promise you that. Either way, this is the position Boston once again finds itself in, and the Celtics hope history will repeat itself.
Draymond Green said he knew Stephen Curry was not going to let the Warriors lose Game 4. And he said he could tell that Steph was going to bring just a little extra fire by watching his demeanor in the days leading up to the game. And that's exactly what Steph did. Klay Thompson said, sometimes we take what Steph can do for granted, and we need to help him out on Monday. But they didn't say they had to do that by scoring a bunch of points. Instead, they said we have to make Steph's job easier just by getting out of his way. They need to set screens, free him up, help him get to his spots. If he passes you the ball, yeah, be ready to shoot it. But other than that, just let Steph cook and make it as easy for him to do so as possible. As Draymond said, Friday's game, quote, showed why he is one of the best players to ever play this game and why this organization has been able to ride him to so much success.
Ahead on SportsCenter, why Game 5 is a tall task for the Celtics.
Now, Steph is also now the second oldest player in Finals history to record at least 40 points and 10 rebounds in the game, trailing only LeBron during his Finals run in the bubble 2 years ago. The only other players to do it at age 33 are older Hall of Famers, Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. But now this series tied 2-2, it goes back to the Bay.
The second half was just a brilliant display of, grit, physicality, IQ, some big shots, and that championship DNA that we had to dig deep and find. And to win on the road, 27 straight series where we won on the road, and to go back home 2-2, it means everything.
Steph obviously doesn't normally show a lot of emotion, but a night like tonight warranted it.
He wasn't letting us lose. That's just what it boils down to. And, you hear all the noise for a day or so. And, I could tell in his demeanor last couple of days, even after Game 3, that he was going to come out with that type of fire, and he did, and we were all able to follow it.
I think I have seen him show that much emotion, and the heart on that man is incredible. The things he does, we kind of take for granted from time to time, but to go out there and put us on his back, and we got to help him out on Monday.
All right, let's flip it to the Celtics for a minute because, again, they were outscored 15-0 in clutch time, and we define clutch time as the final 5 minutes of a game when the score is within 5 points. That minus 15-point differential is the worst in any finals game over the last 25 seasons. Boston, 0 for 5 on threes during that span. Ime Udoka, what say you?
You'd like to take the easier route, and we had our chances, like I said, but it's not only solely dependent on one team. It's obviously a championship caliber opponent that isn't going to lay down and made some tough shots, but also guarded well at the end. And so, as much as we'd like to do better in our own, you got to give them credit for how they stepped up defensively. And Miami is a team that we went and did it against, and so we've proven we can do it. And being down 2 games, 2 elimination games in Milwaukee, so it's proof that we can do it, and then the opponent is what it is. It's really a lot to do with us, and that's how we feel about the game tonight for sure.
I mean, we don't do this on purpose. I promise you we don't. You know, we trying as hard as we can, but we do, like, there's certain things that we got to clean up, obviously, turnovers, movement on the offensive end. You know, will we have liked to win today and be up 3-1? That would have been best case scenario, but it's a new series. So the best of 3. Get some sleep and get on this long flight tomorrow.
Back to Boston we go, because that is where we find our Jalen Rose. What was the difference in this game tonight for the Warriors?
So when you look back at the history of the NBA and you think about great teams and great dynasties, like situations that have won like multiple rings, you ask that person who was affiliated with that, what was it like to play with Bill Russell? What was it like to play with Magic and Kareem, or Larry Bird in the mid-'80s, or Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, Tim Duncan, LeBron James and Dwayne Wade? The reason I bring that up is a lot of times we start looking left and looking right in a team sport about who's going to get it done when it matters to most. And the Golden State Warriors won today because they had him, H-I-M. That was Steph Curry tonight. He was fantastic. The pop-a shot type of three-pointers that he was making, the feathery touch, the runners, the floaters. He did it in all aspects of the game, the entire fourth quarter, the entire 4 quarters. And his outstanding play, Wiggins was outstanding, rebounding the basketball, giving them a double-double. Poole got him a couple of buckets. It was good to see. But the catalyst was Stephen Curry. 40-plus points, 7 made threes. He was dominant on the road against the Celtics, like we saw Giannis be during this postseason, like we saw Jimmy Butler be during this postseason. They won, Nicole, because they had him tonight.
Right. They won because they had Steph. The supporting cast wasn't exactly always stellar. Now, you said that Draymond Green was emotionally intoxicated before Game 3. Tonight, he once again had 2 points. How would you describe what you saw or didn't see from him?
Brand Nubians had a song called Slow Down. That's what he did, right? Psychologically, he didn't get too invested in the crowd or the officiating. And by the way, he dealt with some turbulence today because he did not want to shoot that basketball. It was a hot potato whether he was in the paint or whether he was on a perimeter. But the intellect of a player tells you to play to my strengths. And he decided to double down on his floor game, basically getting rebounds, getting assists, playing defense. And late in the game, he was an offensive for defensive substitute, which is something they normally don't do with Jordan Poole. He played that role, fulfilled that role, came in, got a couple of rebounds, played well, and they closed it out on the road.
He finished with those 2 points, 9 rebounds, and 8 assists. All right, this series now heads back to San Francisco. You heard Steph Curry say, we now have home floor advantage once again. So what do the Celtics need to do? What do they need to change before Game 5?
So if you're the Boston Celtics, it's great to see so many players contribute. Like Robert Williams III in particular in the first half was incredible, just rebounding and blocking shots and changing shots. And Marcus Smart had his moments where he was scoring the ball. But if the Boston Celtics are going to win a championship, it has to be Jason Tatum. He has to be him for the Boston Celtics. And the thing is, so many missed shots in the paint, in particular within 5 feet. And I was looking at it, I was like, he missed so many layups. And then our researcher Matt told me, oh yeah, you're right. He was top 5 in the NBA this year in missed layups and dunks. So when you drive to the basket, in particular in the finals, it got to be knuckles at the rim, look to dunk the ball, or play through contact. And so many times he's trying to get the floater and he's trying to get the angle and he's looking for the foul from the officials when you got to play with force, in particular in these games. That's what it's going to take for the Celtics if they're going to win in Golden State.
He needs to be him, capital H-I-M. Game 5 is Monday, 9 Eastern.